uh, every financial advisor, by whatever name called, does a particular set of work, right? So one of them is to say, I will give you good results. The truth be told, what you can really say is, I will pick a bunch of funds. Hopefully these would all of them would do well, but it is possible that a few will do well and a few will not do well, or they may not do as well as their leader in the pack. So I may not have picked the leader, I may have picked a laggard also. Overall, whatever they do, you will be able to achieve your goals. This is the truth, right? Everybody needs to say this, but ultimately we mostly advisors will end up saying, look, I picked the best funds for you. You never pick the best funds. You will never be able to pick the best funds always, continuously, for all clients. It is almost impossible. You would even forget the discussion that you had, that you recommended fund A, client chose fund B, and it was fund A which performed better than fund B. You would have forgotten that. Or at a time when you suggested fund A, client chose fund B, and fund B was doing very well, right? So all these combinations will happen. We don't have enough record keeping to remember what we recommended, what the client picked, what line of argument the client gave as to why he picked this or why she picked this, right? None of that we are going to remember much. And we are all guilty of chasing something new, right? For example, very likely that when there is an ESG issue, you went and spoke about ESG very greatly and said it's the way to go and things like that. But when your ESG fund doesn't do well, is your client going to remember all those altruistic things which you spoke about? I don't know, right? So we will all chase that shiny object. We have all been convinced that now if you don't invest in Taiwan, you're doomed. That if you have to invest in US, you have to invest in China, right? All this happened, I think, in the last 3-4 years, and not much before that. That is why we hit that ceiling of 7 billion. So remember that we will do all those things, and we will continue to believe that we are the best, and we are going to get the finest returns for all our clients at all points in time, knowing fully well that it is not going to be possible, right? We know it somewhere in our heart. I keep giving people this example. All airline companies buy similar aircraft. You buy an Airbus or you buy a Boeing. There's not too much of a choice. You fly into the same airports where you handle maybe 30% of the post-landing or a pre-landing thing. The rest is security. Then there is an airport authority, right? Those are the people who are handling all that. So the planes are fixed, the fuel is fixed, the configuration inside the plane is fixed, the colors you can choose, and that's about all. There's very little else that you can choose. The only thing you can choose is the quality of people that you get and how much you train them. That is the only variable with which an airline can distinguish A from B. Why a Biman Air is different from Indigo, and why an Indigo is different from Singapore Airlines, or any of those things. So to make that distinction is tremendous amount of effort. Similarly, financial advisors have to pick mutual funds from the same set. You can pick up something from ICICI, HDFC, Birla, Franklin Templeton, UTI, Nippon, right? You have to pick up from these range of fund houses, and every advisor has to do this, and so every advisor suddenly becomes an investment advisor, which is not. You are actually a financial planner, perhaps, who sits with the client, finds out what are his goals, what fund to put, and things like that. But we always will get carried away by some of the following things. One is the flavor of the month. If the flavor of the month 6 months ago was the US, today it may not be the US, and we will all say, oh my God, such a huge risk that when I wanted to invest in the US, there's an RBI which says you cannot invest. Hardly matters. Don't get too worried about it. One day RBI will open it, right? 2 months later, 3 months later. It's not a big risk. The way people exaggerate that this is such a huge risk. It's not a risk at all. If you want, you can redeem. The redemption has not, the ability to redeem has not stopped. In fact, if you redeem, somebody else may have place to invest. So that should not be an issue. But can you always be the best always every time? Well, not even Warren Buffett is able to do that, right? None of us will be able to do that. So also I have a very famous quote from somewhere where say the willingness to be able to look foolish in the short run is very important in the long run, because you have made your investment. Let's say you have bought pharma, and pharma is not performing well at all for 8 months, 9 months, and everybody is looking around you and saying, everybody is looking at your portfolio and saying, oh my god, you're in pharma is not doing anything, one day when pharma does something well, you're already there, right? Maybe you went into the party 6 months earlier, but when the boom happens, you're there. And I think it is easier to be in the party early and participate rather than enter halfway through when you're not certain whether the journey is over or no. So you made that choice. That's perfectly all right. So as financial planners, we are not investment advisors, and investment advisors are very different from financial planners. Theoretically, this is what should happen. You should go to a financial planner. That financial planner should plan for you, and he should take the help of an investment advisor who comes from the other side. He is the person who is going to be talking to the fund manager and things like that. So there is a financial planning and there is an investment advisory. So you are doing financial planning. You are not good at investment advisory, but to know the distinction and to separate the two and say I will do this and I will not do this is going to be very difficult. So it's all combined. Everybody does everything, but like I said, it's like the airline example. Everybody is picking up from the same place. How are you going to be very different? Even as an investment professional, I do realize that there can't be one single strategy, a daily trading or a deep value investing or anything in between, right? There can be a short-term investment, long-term investment, value investing, growth investing, deep value investing, very deep value investing, saying I will take a 10-year view, 15-year view. Why is 15-year view a long-term view or a very deep thing? Because predicting any company for 15 years doesn't mean you will wake up only after 15 years. You'll be looking at it on a quarter-on-quarter basis, but you're looking at it and saying, okay, I think this industry will survive for 15 years. Therefore, I'm invested in this company and I will look at it, right? So there is no single strategy which will work, whether it is annuity, whether it is insurance or things like that. But you say, okay, this is how I will work. I will take a term insurance. I will do this. I will plan all this, and this is how it will work. In the long run, your goals will be met. I'm not saying quarter on quarter or year you will be in the top 25% funds. It's almost impossible. Secondly, I also think the best way to ask a client to pick up is to say, okay, these are 5 funds, all 5 are performing well, all the fund managers are doing well. You pick up any one, they will all perform just as well. Whether you pick, whether I pick, or whether your 3-year-old grandchild picks up a fund, it does not really matter too much. This is a fund which has got 80 items. This is a fund which has got 25 shares in its portfolio. Therefore, this is more aggressive, this is less aggressive, but the returns will also be different. The smaller portfolio will have more standard deviation. It could perhaps give you higher return. That is the reason why they have a focus fund. So you can explain the concept why 2 large cap funds are similar, but actually they are different, because one is more likely to mimic the index and one is likely to be more aggressive, which means the standard deviation will be higher. This is the best you can do. You cannot do anything more than this, right? Another problem I see is we exaggerate our knowledge of any subject, right? We think we know too much about that subject, and we underestimate our ability to deal with the client, right? We think we know what the client wants. I think best is, while doing an annual review, to ask the client what are his fears. What are your top 5 fears? What are your top 5 goals which you must achieve in the next 3 months or next 3 years, whatever, right? So let the client and his family sit down and react to it. Send it in advance, send the questions in advance, and make sure that the client, you have to be addressing things which the client thinks is important. If the client thinks Putin's move in Ukraine is important, don't belittle it saying, oh, macros have no impact. Peter Lynch says that. Maybe Peter Lynch says that, but the way to react is to say, yeah, I can understand your anxiety. I will please also understand that the market will fluctuate in the short run. If Putin actually moves in, if he moves out, if his tanks go back, right? All those things will have an impact, but there is nothing for you to do. you don't have to worry about it. But if you have a goal which is to be met within the next 3 months, your money should anyway be in liquid fund or savings bank account, right? So it does not really change. War does not change anything in anybody's portfolio, except for those people who think, oh, I need the money on the 27th of March, I will withdraw it on 22nd of March. That shouldn't happen, right? So if you need the money on 27th of March, we are now in February, this money should already be in your liquid fund or your savings bank account. So that does not really change much. But yes, accepting that this is a problem that the client has and the client has expressed his problem, you have to address that. So all those things which the client wants addressed have to be addressed, apart from whatever you want to address. And also, if you don't keep updating yourself, for example, when I started my life, maybe in 1986, 86, 87, I thought the most important investment that everybody should have is a PPF. I thought PPF to hona hi chahiye. I even now feel that PPF is a good investment to have as long as it is EEE. However, now I underplay it, because if it's a 23-year-old who wants to have a PPF account and he or she has never had a PPF account, I would suggest that you put only maybe 1,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees, because it's going to take 15 years to build. You can put after the 5th or 6th year, which will have a shorter time frame. Of course, you can keep extending, so nothing, let's not talk about PPF here. So, having started this person, maybe when I was younger, I would have said put all 1.5 lakhs in PPF. Today, I would suggest, because you're younger, put more money in ELSS and less money in PPF. But for your 55-year-old father or a 57-year-old father, I may suggest put more money in PPF and less money in equity. But it is also possible that for a person who has already kept a lot of money in debt funds and who has a pension and who has bank interest income, personally, I'm against that. I may suggest even for a 75-year-old to put money in ELSS, because he or she has no money in equities. So I could take any view on those things. Now, these are all things which you should know as a financial advisor. And as a one more thing as a financial advisor is maintaining a diary of writing down what you learned at least on a weekly or a monthly basis, because every client meeting is like going to a class, right? So writing down, understanding, all that helps in your long-term improvement as a financial advisor. Coming down from that amount stupid and saying this is the only way it works. It's not the only way it works. Asset allocation is different, risk profiling is different for each person. Seeing how to do all of that will improve you as a financial advisor, and accepting to the client that look, on some basis of some algorithm we have picked up these funds. Ideally these funds should do well, but please also understand that could be periods in time it will not do well, and but largely whatever we do, we will achieve all your reasonable goals. That is what is the real promise. Thank you.